Allah, Allah.
Oh, say, can you see?
Assalamu alaikum, brothers.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Let's go.
By the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam.
I've been on a journey across America in search of what it means to be a Muslim in this country. I've discovered that America has its own Islamic history. For more than 200 years, slaves were brought from Africa to work the southern plantations. Many were Muslims who struggled to keep their faith alive. With freedom came a mass flight to the cities of the north, and America's first Muslim movement, known as the Nation of Islam, was born. Out of this fractured movement, many found their way to mainstream Islam. And I've also discovered the founding fathers had read the Quran, and that surely influenced the founding document of American democracy, the Constitution. On my travels, people have told me about how they've had their identities as American Muslims challenged. But I've also heard stories of how people feel assimilated to this country, a belief almost that America and Islam belong to each other. And what I want to know next is whether something new is emerging here, something unique that could be described as an American Islam. To begin to answer this question, I'm in New York City, the epicenter of what's been called the clash of civilizations between Islam and the West. There is deep distrust on both sides. How can Americans trust Muslims who terrorize their cities? And how can Muslims trust Americans who bomb their countries? For Muslim observers outside of America, the invasion of Afghanistan in 2001, followed by the war in Iraq in 2003, has created tensions that show no signs of abating. For American Muslims, it comes down to loyalty. Can you be a patriot, an American and a Muslim? Farouk Muhammad was with the New York City Fire Department on the day the Twin Towers were hit. Tell me about the day of September the 11th, 2001.
It was pretty chaotic. People were coming out burned. It was like hell. We were choking. I thought I was going to die, literally. I was scared. I was scared to death. I thought this is it for me, you know. I couldn't breathe. I was suffocating. And I almost gave up. I didn't want to be in there. And at the same time, I knew that I couldn't provide any service to anybody as a paramedic, so I decided that I was going to see what I could do. So we grabbed some supplies, and we were given water, wet rags so people can cover their faces so they could breathe. That's where I spent the rest of the night treating injured people that were coming in. There were Muslims like me there, you know.
Who died?
And some that died. Definitely Muslims died there, you know, trying to help others, you know. And we're American just like other Americans who are not Muslim. And we were trying our best. And it hurt us just as much as it hurt them.
Did you feel that all Muslims in America were now tarnished by what had happened?
I mean, as much as I hate to say it, on that very day, while I was doing my work, you know, I had a uniform on that had my name on it, you know, Muhammad. And people were asking me what's going on, as if I had something to do with it. And that's when I started to really think about what happened, you know, and what may happen, and whether or not my own life is in jeopardy now.
How did you respond to people when they wanted to know about, is this what Muslims, you know, do?
Then and even now, when people have questions, my character and my personality is always to inform them as much as I can. No matter who might want to misconstrue the Quran, there's nothing in there that would ever justify any such act by anybody.
What's it been like working as a Muslim in the New York Fire Department after 9/11?
They were extremely supportive of me. They said, we know that this is not what you're about, and we know Muslims, and we know this is not what they're about. You know, this is just some heinous terrorist act.
After 9/11, Muslims were for a time regarded with suspicion, but they didn't hide. In fact, Islam has come out in force and attracted a wave of converts. Since 9/11, nearly 250,000 Americans have converted to Islam. I'm in Union City, New Jersey, which has a huge Hispanic population from everywhere, from Bolivia to Colombia to Peru. In fact, it's got one of the largest Cuban-American populations outside of Miami. And at the heart of this busy and thriving community are Hispanics who have converted to Islam.
That's Cuban. The Colombians over there.
Yeah. In fact, 40,000 Hispanics in America converted to Islam after 9/11. And how do people respond when you're trying to spread the message? I mean, and da'wah to
We're not trying to convince anyone. We just want the information out. Yeah. That's it. Any misconception, any questions they have, it's there.
But they always listen.
Yeah.
Which is what we're trying to do, always to bring the message and show them what Islam is really about.
Why do you think Islam is drawing Hispanic women in such large numbers? What is it about?
Nowadays, especially here, this area, a lot of the women, they don't even respect themselves, their bodies.
Do you feel you're looked up to more as women because you are also sort of Muslims?
It's a big difference. ¿Quiénes son los musulmanes? Gratis, en español, gracias. Gracias. You gotta say gratis. I know I didn't say free.
You don't have to pay. But the big stereotype that people have, whether it's in this country or anywhere, is women are oppressed. They're subjugated, they're this and that.
Well, look at me. I work, I study.
Yeah.
They're like, you're not supposed to do that. I'm like, who said I'm not supposed to do this?
Yeah.
And he tried to demystify Islam because the common person walking around does not know anything about Islam, simply what they see on TV.
Which is terrorism, violence, and oppression.
And so when they see us, they see all these things, and we want them to know who we are and why we are this way.
That's the thing.
For those who study, of course.
Yeah.
Definitely.
These women from conventional Christian backgrounds had converted around the time of 9/11, but hadn't seemed to have lost their Hispanic identity. How do you balance all the different identities that you have of being Hispanic, women, Muslims, and American? Is that something that's easy to balance all these identities?
Well, first and foremost, we're Muslim. Before Puerto Ricans, before we are women. When you come to Islam, God provides you with your rules and regulations that help you to balance every aspect of your life.
But what I find interesting is, in America, how is Islam adapting to American life and vice versa?
Well, it does go hand in hand. In Islam, women have rights, children have rights, men, parents. Everything is balanced. And this is exactly what America is about. And it's in Islam, if you really look deep into it.
I just wonder if that experience, though, in the years post 9/11, the sort of prejudice and ignorance, did it knock your confidence about being Muslim?
Actually, after September 11th, the universities were packed with people.
It opened the doors.
I've heard a lot of people say that it did open doors, that it changed things.
They needed extra teachers to learn Arabic, to learn about the religion Islam.
Why are they doing this? Is this part of it?
And as a result, many more people came into Islam.
They did, didn't they?
A lot.
Huge number.
And even women who were Muslim, who didn't cover it before, this was like a reason to do it. They're like, I am going to show myself. I'm going to show my identity.
I am not afraid to stand alone. I am not afraid to stand alone. If Allah is by my side, I am not afraid to stand alone. Everything will be all right. I am not afraid to stand alone. Gonna keep my head up high. I'm not afraid to stand alone. If Allah is by my side.
It's not just young converts who are spreading Islam, but those who are raised in the faith. And here the word is delivered worldwide in that most American of music forms, hip-hop. I'm meeting a Muslim boy band called Native Deen. Deen means faith, and the band are natives of America. Their songs are about Islam in the USA.
Islam has been in the black community for so long. Even talking about if you take it back to slavery days, that you say so many of the slaves were Muslim. And you can ask almost any black person, be like, dude, you got a relative that's Muslim? Or do you have a neighbor? They at least have a relative, a neighbor, a cousin, or something. But they have some connection.
But in some ways, other Muslims have seen Muslims in America as not really practicing the faith, as though they've been isolated for many years.
That's the first thing somebody say, like, did you convert? I said, dude, I've been Muslim as long as you have.
Because all of you were brought up as Muslims. Yeah. As you've grown up as Muslims and brought up as Muslims, how have things changed for the Muslims that you grew up with over the years?
We have a lot of opportunities here. You can wear your hijab at work and, you know, pray in school and, you know, different things that have a lot of opportunities for Muslims. While also we have a lot of challenges because the Islamic traditions and cultures are, you know, not expressed in everyday life.
I think there's no one Muslim experience in America because, I mean, even for America, I mean, it's not just, it's one thing, American Muslim is one thing, like, what? Check. And then you're going to say that these are Muslim rappers? What? When there's 50 Cent, when there's there's Young Jeezy, there's Lil Wayne, and you're going to tell me these guys are rapping? And then after all that, you're going to tell me they're rapping about Deen and they're practicing? You're crazy. So they come in to just... Let's go see this, like, strange phenomenon, you know, that...
Okay. Are you proud to be an American and a Muslim?
The Americans are our people. You know, we may not agree with all of the policies that go on and the political things that happen all around the world.
But this is home. This is what we know. And I want to share what's best of our own culture to the rest of the world. But know that, you know, Islam is what is always dearest to our heart.
We can be proud to be American and Muslim.